Hi, I'm Bridget, and thank you so much for joining me today for this 10-minute yoga practice. So we're going to get started today in our wide-legged child's pose. So we're going to bring the big toes together, walk our knees as wide as our yoga mat, and sink the hips back down towards the heels, walk the arms out nice and long, and then bring the forehead to rest on the mat. Maybe rocking a little side to side. Finding the breath, feeling the body expand with each inhale and melt down towards the mat a little bit more with each exhale. Letting go of any expectations that you might have, just showing up exactly as you are. Letting go of whatever came before this practice and whatever comes after, just being exactly in this moment. Then really nice and slowly when you're ready, we're going to start to walk the hands back in towards the body, so lifting up through the head and the chest, and we'll make our way to our tabletop from here. So stacking the shoulders above the wrists, the hip points above the knees, leveling out through the spine here. We're going to make our way to our puppy pose, so a nice heart space open, a nice opening through the chest and the shoulders here. So noticing where your palms are on your mat, we're going to drop the elbows where the hands were, seeing if you can keep them nice and parallel. We're going to start to walk the knees back and sink the chest down towards the mat. Once you've straightened out through the arms, if it feels a little bit too tight through the shoulders, you can walk the hands a little bit wider into a bit more of a V shape to give you a little bit more space through the shoulders. Bring your forehead to the mat or down towards the mat. If the forehead doesn't make it all the way down towards the mat, that's okay. We find the breath here and breathe into that nice stretch through the shoulder space. This can be quite an intense stretch. We're often rounding forward more so the other way, so stretching back this way can feel quite intense, but it's a really nice way to start the day, or at the end of the day, just stretch it out. And then really nice and slowly when you're ready, so we're going to press into the hands, press into the elbows, maybe looking forward here. We're going to start to send the chest forward and make our way into our sphinx pose. So bringing the elbows back underneath the shoulders, arms are parallel again here, spreading the fingers nice and wide. We find our sphinx pose, so pressing into the tops of the feet, lifting through the kneecaps. We draw the shoulder blades back together, almost like someone's wrapping a rope around the back of your chest and pulling it forward. Nice and long through the head and the neck. Breathing here. And then really nice and slowly, we're going to relax through the chest. So send the chest back down towards the mat. We're going to come back up through our tabletop. And we'll make our way to our first downward facing dog. So walking the hands forward just an inch or two, tuck the toes under. We press to lift the hips back. Lift the knees away from the mat and send the hips towards the top back corner of the room, lengthening out through the spine, so nice and strong through the arms. Just pedaling through the feet a little bit here, breathing into the backs of the legs. Finding a little bit of movement. And then finding stillness. 2 nice deep breaths here. Then we're going to look forward between the hands, and then we're going to send the weight forward to find our plank pose. So we're stacking the shoulders above the wrists again here, spreading nice and wide through the fingers. Leveling out through the spine, so imagining a nice long line from the top of the head right down to the tailbone. Nice and strong through our plank. You can drop the knees if you need to here. Powering up through the core, so hugging the belly button back towards the spine. And then from here, we're going to find our side plank. So you can either stay in your full plank and move into side plank, otherwise drop the knees. And then we're going to, if you're dropping the knees, we're going to come onto that right knee, bring the right hand to the center of the mat, open up into your side plank. If you're moving from your full plank, we're going to bring that right palm to the center of the mat, turn onto the outside edge of that right foot. Find your side plank, maybe looking up towards those left fingers, give them a little wiggle. You might like to try lifting that top leg, whether you're in your half side plank or your full side plank. And then we make our way back to plank. Take a rest in child's pose. Drop the knees, sink the hips back down towards the heels, or reach those arms forward. So we're just going to take a couple of breaths here. Noticing how you feel. Checking in with the body. And then let's come back to our plank pose. So powering up through those arms again, powering up through the core. We hug the belly button back towards the spine. Nice and strong. Then we find our side plank. So either walking the left palm to the center of your mat, turn onto the outside edge of that left foot. We find our side plank on this side. Again, you can drop that left knee for a little bit of support. Pressing to lift those hips away from the mat. And then wherever you are, you might like to try lifting that top leg. Seeing if you can hold it there. And then exhale, let's come back to our plank and we'll find our child's pose again. So drop the knees, sink the hips back down towards the heels and rest on the forehead. You might like to bring the arms to either side of the body this time. Go for a little rock from side to side. And then really nice and slowly we'll tuck the chin in towards the chest. And coming back to seated, we're just going to tuck the toes under for a moment here. So tucking the toes under, bringing the hips back down towards the heels. A nice little stretch into the backs of the feet, into the soles of the feet. So sitting up again, nice and tall here. Drop the shoulders away from the ears, close down the eyes, just checking in. Bringing a little bit of movement, a little bit of energy down to the feet. Should feel a really nice stretch here. And then let's slowly come back on to the hands and the knees. Give the feet a little tap, unstretch them out. Then we'll cross one heel over the other and we're going to make our way to seated. I'm going to come this way onto my mat. We'll just take one more little stretch through the legs, waking up the legs a little bit more. So we'll send the legs out nice and long in front of us. Inhale, we get nice and tall through the spine. And exhale, we're going to just round it forward, reach the hands forward. You can give those knees a nice generous bend so that you should feel a nice release through the lower spine as well here. Breathing into the backs of the legs. Finding the breath again, letting it return to normal as we start to close our practice. And then really nice and slowly, we're going to tuck the chin in towards the chest and start to roll it back up to seated. Let the head and the neck come up last. And then finding whatever seated position is most comfortable for you. You might like to lay down and find your Shavasana. I'm going to end the practice here in just a seated position. So I'm just crossing at the heels, closing down through the eyes, sitting up really nice and tall. Letting the palms rest on the knees. Slowing down the breath here. This is a really great time to notice how you feel. I know I've been saying it for the last 10 minutes, but just checking in, noticing where the mind's at today, noticing where the body's at. Without judgment, just being able to notice and then let it go. Maybe comparing how you feel at the end of your practice compared to before you started. Maybe counting the breaths as they pass. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice today. And I hope you have an amazing day or night to come after this practice. We'll bring our palms together at the heart, bow through the head and the neck. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. Namaste.